Hi everyone, it's Dr. Ramani. Welcome back to this YouTube channel on narcissism and antagonism and just toxic relationships that aren't good for us. Welcome back to our What Is and What Isn't series, a chance to sort of take some of the key topic areas that we need to understand if we're going to understand these kinds of toxic relationships. Not only understand what they are, but actually it's equally important to understand what they aren't. So we're using these words in the right way and understanding these concepts. So let's talk today about what is and what isn't enabling. Enabling is a behavior that keeps many narcissistic people in power. It allows them to keep on doing what they're doing without any consequences, and more problematically, often has the double hit of harming the other person by denying or at least somewhat minimizing their experience. Enabling can be comprised of lots of behavior, including justifying the narcissistic person's behavior, minimizing their behavior, trying to pull out the whole there's two sides to every story card, and never issuing a meaningful consequence, even when the person in the enabling role is in a position to do so. Enablers also never expect the abusive person to adhere to a behavioral standard that everyone else is expected to adhere to. Enabling ends up becoming a major source of juice for narcissistic behavior and emboldens people with these personality styles. Many survivors will report that enablers may have actually done just as much harm to them as the narcissistic person did, at least once they became educated about these patterns and personalities. They were able to recognize the limitations of the narcissistic person and hopefully not engage or personalize it anymore. But with the enablers, these are often people who may not be antagonistic and yet were unwilling to see what was happening or were just cared too much about the status quo. And survivors often report feeling gaslighted by the enablers. Enablers are a big reason why the world is the mess it is these days. Political leaders who are enabled, corporate leaders who are enabled, celebrities, athletes also enabled. And when the people who run the platforms and have the power are able to behave with abandon, with no consequence, needless to say, it's not good for anyone. So that's just sort of a general what enabling is. Let's break down a little bit of what enabling is not. First, enabling is not a person simply showing up to where the narcissistic person is, like a dinner or something, or workplace. I know it can feel that way if you have been hurt by someone with a narcissistic personality style, and then someone you are friends with keeps showing up where the narcissistic person is, but dig deeper and figure out why this person you know is showing up where the narcissist is. Maybe a job, maybe related to other financial or other related responsibilities. Your friend may be very clear with you. They may say, I agree that what this other person did was abuse. I don't want to interact with them either. I see it. Whatever it is they say, but for a number of reasons, they do have to show up where that person is. It may seem that anyone who shows up and is in the narcissistic person's presence is enabling them by being an audience, but to me that's a little bit of a too loose definition of enabling and misses what it really is, which is actually signing off, supporting, or rationalizing the antagonistic behavior. A second thing that enabling is not is a person who is able to hold space for you even while they still simultaneously are able to continue to have to interact with the narcissistic person. That's not enabling. If the person is not only able to see what the narcissism is, but is also there for you, they empathize with you, they listen to you, they're support. Yes, they still do interact with the narcissistic person. Again, it's similar to what I just said in the first, but it's not enabling. So what is the why? Why are they interacting with the narcissist? It may be that it's their sibling, their parent, or their spouse, or their boss that's the issue. Your friend may even call that narcissistic person in your life out, hold their feet to the fire, but they still have to show up into their lives. And this is a really difficult thing to do. Many people cannot do it. It's extraordinary when a person can see someone's narcissism, be there for you who's being narcissistically abused, but still may have to keep the trains running in their own lives by interacting with the narcissist, and perhaps even for the cherry on top, tell the narcissistic person that their behavior was wrong. Number 3, enabling is not what we observe in a person who holds realistic expectations and radical acceptance, again, even if they do show up. If a person sees it clearly and engages in some behavioral changes, maybe they don't see them as much, or they stop following them on social media, or here's your side of things, whatever that looks like, they see it. They have realistic expectations. They'd never encourage you to give it another chance. They recognize that it won't change. And even if the person you know has some interaction with the narcissistic person, their relationship with them has shifted. I don't think that's enabling. And number 4, enabling is typically not the kind of survival behavior a lot of us have to interact in when we have to deal with narcissists. One thing that keeps many people stuck in these antagonistic relationships is survival needs. Things like housing, health care, cultural reasons such as stigma, shame, and ostracism if you don't stay in touch with a member of your family, for example. So as a result, people may keep having contact with a narcissistic person for reasons of survival, not out of support for the narcissistic person. Some people maintain contact with a narcissistic person because it may be the only bridge they have to a person that they actually really care about. The isolation and control that is often a classical part of narcissistic relationships means that a person is interacting with a narcissist just to be able to get time with someone they care about or are worried about. Just be aware of that dynamic. And I recognize that this is a gray area and could be a justification. The person says it's about survival in some cases. Oh, I have to stay in touch with them because of whatever. But the stress and problems of things like family court are real. Coercive control and financial abuse are real. Post-separation abuse is real. Cultural obsessions with family collectiveness, even if that means ostracizing someone for taking a stand, also real. So if the person sees it and isn't doubting your judgment of the situation, but is still interacting with the narcissistic person for what is a clear survival issue, probably not enabling. Here's the bottom line. I know as I thought about this video, I thought about the many narcissistic people who still populate my life in the workplace, in my family, amongst my friends. And I asked myself why I do it. And I recognized as I thought about each person, the reasons were complex, as those reasons are with all of us. I like to think that I'm not enabling the narcissist in my life, but maybe I am. Maybe by showing up we are. But if that's the case, then that would mean everyone on the planet is enabler. The key to avoiding enabler behavior is to ensure you hear what a survivor is going through in an open manner, and don't doubt their experience. That is the core and the heart of what is enabling or not enabling, if you can be present with someone's experience. I recognize that not all of us can issue consequences or even face the futile task of facing the narcissistic person down. But we can be present with those who are suffering. And if we have to or choose to keep interacting with a narcissistic person, we can do that from a mindset of radical acceptance and realistic expectations, and recognize that our ongoing contact could be hard for other people we care about. Such are the multiple truths of these complicated situations. So just to be clear, enabling is not just the person showing up in the narcissist's life, but sort of doubting your experience, encouraging the narcissistic person, letting them get away with it. But just a person you know continuing to have contact with a narcissistic person in your life doesn't make them an enabler. You got to look for that behavioral piece. Thanks again.